Hi everyone, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette and today I'm going to be tidying up the pots outside my front door. I have a lot of very large pots outside the front door. We've had them for a few years and there have been changes over the years. This is a very shady area. It really doesn't get a lot of sun, and so I've really struggled to find things that are going to be happy and perform well throughout all 4 seasons, because it's right outside our front door, and so I need there to be structure and happy plants all year long. Otherwise it's a really depressing entrance and I can't bear that. So all I'm going to be doing today is taking out anything that's died or anything that's gone over. I'll be pruning a few things back, and then I've got a couple of plants that I'd like to pop in where I feel like I need some additional height or some more structure and colour. So let me show you what I'm going to be doing. So this is our front door area, and what we have are some pots of various different shapes and sizes on either side of the front door. And as you can see, everything's looking a little bit tired and bedraggled, and so I'm going to be tidying things up. So in this pot I've got a hellebore that hasn't done particularly well. I've got this senecio that is completely taken over and I don't want it to flower. So what I tend to do with these is I cut them right back in the hope that they'll sprout again from the bottom, and then I won't have these flowers that I don't like. I do want to leave some of the branches. I just want to take out the bigger ones, and especially the ones that look like they're about to flower, or if they look a bit bedraggled on the end, I tend to chop those back. So they're not going to look amazing for a few weeks until they grow back, but that's fine by me. I'd rather have a few weeks where they look a little bit ropey. So I've also got an ivy in this pot, which is looking particularly lush. In fact, I may just turn the pot round a bit so that we get to see more of that ivy, and there's some new growth here. And I am just going to cut off the old hellebore leaves, which I didn't do when I did my winter pruning of my hellebores. In the middle of this pot is a leucotho that is not doing particularly well, and that's probably because it's crowded out by this senecio. And in fact, I think I can probably just yank that out. Yep, so it definitely isn't doing well. I was just able to pull that completely out. I can see a few bulbs coming up in here, and the snails can go on the compost heap. So then what I do with each pot is I put in some slow release fertiliser, like that, and I top the compost up a bit. With these plants, because they're perennials, I don't change out the compost. I don't take the plants out. I'm just topping up the compost each year. And I'll probably do this again when I add my summer annuals later in the season. I do it for 2 reasons. It's to add nutrients to the pot, but also because as the rain waters the pots, some of the soil is going to leach out of the bottom, and so it's always good to add a bit more just to put your pots back at the right level. So this pot at the back here has some gorgeous Japanese anemones, and they look really beautiful in the autumn, but then I should have chopped those stems off really in the winter, and I didn't get round to it. So I'm doing it now, cut back all of that. Now I can also see in here that my gorgeous cypress, I had a dwarf cypress in here, it's a variegated one, and it has not survived the winter. And it's completely dead. I don't know why. Still got a really good root ball, but it is very much dead, I think. So I've cut all the stems and they're all brown inside, they're not green. I have no idea why that one died. It had a really good root ball on it. I'm really disappointed. It could be because the Japanese anemone is a thug and is taking over. Maybe the Japanese anemone's taken all the water. I don't know. There are a few things that have died in here. I actually think I'm going to blame the Japanese anemone. So there is a hellebore in here with a few little flowers. I've cut back the senecio at the back, and then all the rest of this is Japanese anemones. So there is a big hole in the middle. So I'm going to fill in that hole with some compost. The back over here is a Pyrrhus japonica called Little Frosty, and it's got this gorgeous variegated foliage. It's only going to grow to about 40 centimetres tall, and it's supposed to make a really nice mound, and it should have little pink tips in the spring, and it is supposed to have some flowers as well, but it's looking a little bit bedraggled. I'm not really sure what's going on. There's a little dead pansy in there. I think the snails got to that. So I'm not sure why it's all leaning that way and not this way. I'm just going to cut out anything that's dead to tidy it up a bit, but I don't want to prune it yet because of, you know, the spring colour that should be coming any day now. I could, of course, turn it. We have got drip irrigation to these tubs, so it depends if it is plugged in. But maybe I can swing it round a bit this way. There, it looks a bit better now. And I'm just going to do that, but obviously I've got space here to be able to plant something come the summer. So as soon as I get my summer annuals in, I'll put something with a little bit more height in this spot. So over here we've got a lovely Picea glauca. It did look really sick one year, but it's definitely rebounded. I'm really glad that we chucked some more compost in that pot. And then in the pot next to it, we've got a gorgeous wallflower. It's just coming out on the other side. I can see some buds on this one, and it's going to be yellow. And then at the back, there's a fern. And then I did have a heather, an erica, in the middle. But this erica has definitely also decided to kick the bucket. I don't know why I bother planting any violas or pansies in here, because the snails just get them. It's such a waste of my time. So this is a fern that I didn't cut back a few weeks ago when I was doing all the rest of my ferns, but it's definitely, all the fronds are looking a bit ropey. So I would like to cut it back. Can I see any new fronds? I can't, so maybe what I'll do is I'll just take out the really sad looking ones. They all look sad. I don't really want a bare patch at the back here, that's why I'm not taking them all out. Having said that, I'm taking off everything that looks sad and ropey, and it's almost all of them. It's just what happens to ferns in the winter, and it's one of the reasons why I took most of the ferns out of these pots. It's because I just didn't like having the bare patch. So I'm hoping what's going to happen is this wallflower is going to disguise the lack of the fern at the back here. And we won't really notice it. And then the fern will bounce back soon enough. So now I've just got these two pots at the front to tackle. This one at the front with the gorgeous rusty crown, in there is a pittosporum called Silver Ball, and it's supposed to form a really ball shape, but this one is super loose, and I really feel like I want to prune it back a bit so that it thickens up. It will become more dense if it starts to branch, and the only way to do that is if I prune it back a little bit. But I actually like the floppiness of it. I just wanted a bit more of a ball shape. And then in this pot here, this is a cypress called Pearly Swirls, and I just love the structure of this. It's supposed to be a dwarf, so it shouldn't get too tall. And this is a gorgeous Himalayan ivy. I really like this shape of the leaves because it's a different shape to normal ivy leaves. They're more pointed, and it's just a lovely dark colour, and I do appreciate that about it. But look how long it is. So I don't want it to start growing into the ground, so I'm going to do quite a hard prune on it, because whilst I want it trailing, I definitely don't want all this length, because it would just start taking root. And then this variegated ivy at the back, oh, that's definitely taking root. So I'm going to cut this one back as well. I mean, it's so pretty, but it needs to be kept under control. So I think that's all I've got in this particular plant pot. So the question is, do I prune the Pittosporum or not? What I definitely don't want is for the ivy to root in there. So it's this kind of area here I feel is a bit bare. Maybe if I just bring some of the branches forwards. There we are. I'm happier with that. I don't need to prune it at all. Pittosporums do take really well to a good pruning, but I'm just reluctant to lose that colour and shape there. So the other thing that I want to do today is to plant this standard Euonymus. It's a Euonymus called Emerald Gaiety, and in the spring it's got these gorgeous red tinges to the leaves, which I think is so pretty. I did actually order these last year. I've got a pair of them, and when they arrived they had been clipped so small that I just didn't want to plant them anywhere. But I can see loads of new growth now. It's shooting out. In fact, it's shooting out all over. There's new growth everywhere. So I want to plant it and give it a really good chance to grow in this year. And I'm hoping it's just going to add another little bit of height to the border. So I don't want to plant it right next to the Picea glauca because that's too much height in one area. I'm thinking that I want to put it in this pot here. I mean, it's obviously not going to be as tall as that. It's going to be kind of that height. And hopefully it'll form a nice round bush. I think it'll be really pretty, and it'll get a little bit of sun in this spot here. And I don't want to plant it in with the Japanese anemone because I do think that Japanese anemone has taken over that pot, and I'm not going to have any luck with anything that I plant in there. I think that looks quite cute. Now that I've done the right hand side, I'm going to do exactly the same to this side here. I'm going to tidy them all up, plant another Euonymus and feed everything and add a little bit more compost. It started raining, so we're just going to have to see how much we can get done. I know it looks really drastic cutting the ferns back like this, but it's honestly worth it. There are loads of new shoots at the bottom. So the great thing about the ivy is that whilst I'm waiting for the fern to grow back, I can just use the ivy to cover it a bit. Maybe these just got hit by the frost, because this is another variegated cypress, and this one is also looking quite sad. Maybe they're not frost hardy, I don't know. I'm cutting out most of the dead bits and we'll see what happens. If it doesn't bounce back, I'll obviously replace it with something else. So the Pittosporum on this side is looking so lush, absolutely gorgeous. It definitely gets a bit more sun, so that's probably why. And then I'm just going to cut back these two pots here. So this one has got a pulmonium in it and a weed. The pulmonium is called Blue Whirl. I'm going to take all the weeds out, obviously. And the Lacotho is called Curly Red. So again, I'm just going to be quite harsh with the ivy and cut it back because it's rooting into the driveway. Not that we have a driveway, it's just mud. This pot on the end doesn't have anything in it, so I'm going to plant this Euonymus in this pot, and I think it will be super happy in here. Super happy that I've got this job done today. I feel really satisfied that everything's tidied up and I don't have to look at all the ugliness anymore. And of course it wasn't ugly the whole time, it's just because we had so much rain and we've had a few frosts, and so it just started to look a bit drab. I do want to get a little pop of colour in there. Maybe I'll go shopping for some summer annuals, maybe I'll buy some cheap bulbs and you know, ones that are just about to bloom and stick those in there. I don't know, I just fancy a bit of pop of colour now that we're in March. So watch this space, subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see what I'm going to add to these pots to bring some colour to this very shady area. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do give it a like. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all next time.